The strange lights appeared in the night sky above Montana without warning. They pulsed with colors no human had ever seen before, forming perfect geometric shapes that defied the laws of physics. At the remote Earth Defense Force outpost, alarms blared as sensors detected the unknown energy signatures. Captain Allison Murphy rushed to the command center, her boots echoing on the metal floor. She had been stationed at this quiet outpost for 3 years, and nothing interesting had ever happened. Until now. "Report," she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Lieutenant Jack Brown looked up from his console, his face pale in the blue glow of the screens. "Ma'am, whatever this is, it's not in our database. It's not Russian, Chinese, or any known Earth technology." "A meteor?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Meteors didn't form perfect hexagons in the sky. "No, ma'am. It's slowing down, and it's big, about the size of a football field." Murphy grabbed the secure phone to call headquarters when the radio crackled to life. "Earth Defense Force Outpost 42. This is Ambassador Xelnat of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and request permission to land. We need your help." The room fell silent. 20 trained soldiers stared at each other in disbelief. First contact with alien life, and they were asking for help. "This has to be a prank," Brown whispered. Murphy took a deep breath. "If it is, someone's about to get court-martialed." She pressed the transmit button. "This is Captain Allison Murphy. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." "We are representatives of the Galactic Council, a federation of 37 spacefaring species. We have been observing Earth for centuries but have maintained a policy of non-interference. However, we now face a crisis that threatens all sentient life. Our records suggest humans possess unique abilities that may help us." Murphy followed protocol and ordered her team to battle stations while she continued the conversation. Within an hour, 3 helicopters arrived with government officials, and 6 hours later, the alien ship was permitted to land in a cleared area surrounded by military vehicles. The ship was beautiful, sleek, and silver, with no visible engines or windows. A door appeared in its smooth hull, and 3 figures emerged. They looked almost human except for their blue-tinted skin and eyes that were too large, too knowing. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Xelnat. Thank you for receiving us." General Howard, flown in from Washington, stood beside Murphy. "Why have you come to Earth specifically?" Xelnat's expression was hard to read, but Murphy thought she detected something like embarrassment. "We face an enemy we cannot defeat or understand. A space-time anomaly we call the Void is consuming entire star systems at the edge of our territory. It defies our physics, our weapons, our understanding. 17 advanced civilizations have already been lost." "And you think we can help?" Murphy asked, unable to hide her surprise. "Your technology is clearly far beyond ours." The second alien spoke, his voice softer. "I am Dr. Zelax, Chief Scientist of the Council. Technology is not the issue. In my research of Earth transmissions, I have observed that humans approach problems differently than any species we've encountered. You make intuitive leaps, use creative solutions, and think in ways that seem chaotic, but often succeed where logical approaches fail." General Howard frowned. "So you're saying you're too smart to solve this problem?" Dr. Zelax nodded. "In essence, yes. Our logical, advanced thinking has become a limitation. We need human unpredictability." The third alien stepped forward, holding a device that projected a hologram of swirling darkness consuming a star. "This is the Void. It has already destroyed 17 worlds. Our calculations show it will reach Earth in approximately 3 years." Murphy watched the simulation with growing dread as the darkness swallowed planet after planet. "We don't just need your help," Ambassador Xelnat said quietly. "The entire galaxy needs it. No one saw a way out, so we called humans." General Howard turned to Murphy. "Captain, gather your best people. Looks like your quiet outpost just became the most important place on Earth." Murphy nodded, her mind already racing with questions, possibilities, and the strangest feeling that somehow, someway, humanity might actually be able to help. 3 days after the aliens landed, the White House called an emergency meeting. Leaders from around the world gathered in a secure room deep beneath Washington, D.C. Captain Murphy stood nervously at the back, still trying to believe this was really happening. "Let me get this straight," said the president, looking at Ambassador Xelnat. "Your civilization is millions of years ahead of ours, yet you need our help." Xelnat nodded. Advanced does not always mean better. Sometimes it means stuck in old ways of thinking. Dr. Zelak stepped forward with his hologram device. It showed the void growing larger, swallowing stars like a hungry monster. "We have tried everything. Weapons, shields, even attempting to communicate with it. Nothing works." The room fell silent as everyone watched the destruction play out before them. "I think we should bring in Dr. Natalie Reed," Murphy said suddenly. All eyes turned to her, and she fought the urge to shrink back. She's a physicist with some unusual theories about reality. 6 hours later, Dr. Reed arrived. She was short, with curly red hair and eyes that seemed to look right through you. She didn't seem impressed by the aliens or scared by the void. She simply studied the data with intense focus. "You're looking at this all wrong," she said after an hour. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Zelax. Reed pointed to the patterns in the void's movement. "It's not random destruction. There's a pattern here that reminds me of wave functions. I think the void might be trying to stabilize itself in our dimension." "That's impossible," said one of the alien scientists. "The void is simply a destructive force." Reed smiled. "That's your first mistake. You're assuming destruction is the goal. What if it's just a side effect?" The aliens were not convinced, but the president gave Reed permission to continue her work. She requested all the data the aliens had collected about the void. Meanwhile, world leaders debated what to do. Some wanted to keep everything secret to avoid panic. Others thought people deserved to know that aliens existed and that a threat was coming. "If this void thing is going to reach Earth in 3 years, people have a right to prepare," argued the British Prime Minister. In the end, they decided to tell part of the truth. They would announce that aliens had made contact and offered to share technology, but they would keep the void secret for now. After the meeting, Ambassador Xelnat approached Murphy. "Your Dr. Reed sees things differently than our scientists. Is this common among humans?" Murphy nodded. "We call it thinking outside the box. Some people are especially good at it. We need more humans like her," said Xelnat, "and we need them to see the void up close." The plan came together quickly. Earth would send a team of scientists, military personnel, and problem solvers on a mission to study the void. They would travel on a Galactic Council ship modified for humans. Commander Sam Porter was chosen to lead the mission. He had experience with international crisis management and stayed calm under pressure. "We're calling the mission Operation Viewfinder," Porter told Murphy when they met at the new joint human-alien base. "And I want you on my team." Murphy was surprised. "Me? I'm just the captain who happened to be there when they landed." Porter shook his head. "You were the one who suggested Dr. Reed. You think differently too. That's exactly what we need." Dr. Reed joined them, carrying stacks of papers covered in equations. "I've been analyzing the void's energy patterns. There's something familiar about them, but I can't quite figure it out yet." "You'll have more time on the journey," said Porter. "We leave in 3 days on the galactic ship they're calling the Pioneer *. Murphy looked out the window at the gleaming alien ship being prepared for human passengers. Somehow, they had gone from first contact to a space mission in less than 2 weeks. "No pressure," she whispered to herself. "We're just trying to save the galaxy." The journey through the wormhole was like nothing any human had ever experienced. Captain Murphy felt like her body was being stretched in impossible directions, then snapped back together. When it was over, she found herself looking out at an alien sky filled with 3 suns. "Welcome to Zentara, home of the Galactic Council," said Ambassador Excelnet. The Pioneer docked at a massive space station that curved like a giant silver ring. Inside, hundreds of different alien species moved about their business. Some had too many limbs, others had none at all. Some floated in the air, while others slid along the floor. Murphy tried not to stare. "It's okay to look," said Dr. Zelax with what might have been a smile. "We were just as curious when we first saw humans." Commander Porter gathered the human team for a briefing. There were 20 of them total, scientists, soldiers, and engineers chosen for their creative thinking. "Remember why we're here," Porter said. "These aliens have technology we can barely understand, but they called us because we think differently. So don't be afraid to suggest ideas, no matter how strange they might seem." The Galactic Council had prepared a special area for the humans with Earth-like gravity, temperature, and food. But Engineer Kate Miller was more interested in their technology than their hospitality. "Can I see your engine room?" she asked one of the alien technicians. The alien looked unsure but eventually agreed. Miller spent hours examining the ship's systems, asking questions that sometimes made the aliens uncomfortable. "You mean you've never tried connecting these two systems?" she asked, pointing to different parts of their energy grid. "That would be inefficient," the alien engineer replied. "Maybe, but it might also create a feedback loop that could amplify your scanning range," Miller suggested. The alien stared at her. "That is not how our technology is designed to work." Miller shrugged. "Just because it wasn't designed that way doesn't mean it can't work that way." Later that day, the full council gathered to brief the humans on the void crisis. The council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives of all 37 species. The humans felt small as they entered. 17 advanced civilizations have already fallen to the void, explained the council leader, a tall being with crystalline skin. "It began 6 months ago at the edge of our territory. At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon, perhaps a new type of black hole." Dr. Reed watched carefully as they showed detailed scans of the void. "But it doesn't behave like any natural space event," she said. "Correct," said the council leader. "It moves with purpose, targeting inhabited systems first. Our greatest minds believe it may be a weapon created by an unknown enemy. Or maybe it's alive," suggested Murphy. The aliens turned to look at her. "I mean, it moves with purpose, right? Maybe it's a living thing." Some of the council members made sounds that the translation devices interpreted as laughter. "A living space anomaly. That is not possible," said one. Dr. Reed didn't laugh. "Actually, Captain Murphy might be onto something. The void's movements do share some patterns with living organisms." The council didn't seem convinced, but Ambassador Xelnet reminded them why the humans were there. "We must consider all possibilities, even ones that seem unlikely to us." The meeting continued as the council shared everything they knew about the void. The human team listened, asked questions, and sometimes suggested ideas that the aliens found strange. After the briefing, the team gathered in their quarters to discuss what they had learned. "They're missing something," Dr. Reed said. "The void isn't random. Its movements follow patterns." "What kind of patterns?" asked Porter. "I'm not sure yet," she admitted, "but I think our next step is clear. We need to see this thing up close." "The council says that's too dangerous," Murphy reminded her. Miller smiled. "Then I guess we'll have to convince them otherwise, or find our own way there." Porter nodded slowly. "Tomorrow we present our plan to the council. We're going to get as close to the void as possible, and we're going to study it in ways they haven't tried yet." Murphy looked around at her fellow humans, all strangers 2 weeks ago, now united in an impossible mission. "No pressure," she said again. "We're just trying to save the galaxy." This time, everyone laughed. The journey to the edge of known space took 3 days. The Pioneer traveled faster than any human spacecraft could dream of moving. Stars blurred past the windows like streaks of paint. Commander Porter and his team used the time to prepare. They studied all the data on the void and came up with different theories. Some thought it was a weapon. Others believed it might be a natural disaster. Dr. Reed still suspected it was alive somehow. "We're approaching the safe observation distance," announced the alien pilot. "Any closer would be against Council orders." Porter looked at his team. They had discussed this moment. "Thank you for bringing us this far," he said politely. "We'll begin our observations now." Through the main viewport, they could finally see it. The void looked like a tear in space itself. It was darker than black, with edges that seemed to bend light around it. As they watched, it pulsed slightly, and a nearby star dimmed. "It's feeding," whispered Dr. Reed. "It's consuming the star's energy." The alien scientists began using their advanced scanning equipment. They had been studying the void for months with the same tools and getting nowhere. Marine Sergeant Frank Johnson watched them for a while, then spoke up. "You know, this reminds me of something we used to do in the Navy." The aliens turned to look at him. "We used sonar to map underwater terrain by bouncing sound waves off objects and measuring how long it took them to return," he explained. "Have you tried something similar with the void?" The lead alien scientist looked confused. "But the void absorbs all energy directed at it. Nothing returns." "Nothing you can detect," said Johnson. "But what if we try different wavelengths? Maybe there's something you haven't tried yet." Dr. Reed's eyes lit up. "He's right. Let's try a range of different signals, from basic radio waves to complex quantum patterns." The aliens were skeptical, but agreed to help. They modified their equipment while Miller helped connect it to some Earth devices they had brought along. "Ready to try," Miller said after an hour of work. They sent the first signal, a simple pattern of pulses that repeated every 10 seconds. Nothing happened. They tried again with a different frequency. Still nothing. "Let's try something really basic," suggested Murphy. "Morse code." They sent the simplest message possible. SOS 3 short pulses, 3 long pulses, 3 short pulses. At first, nothing happened. But then, just as they were about to try something else, the void pulsed in a pattern. 3 times quickly, 3 times slowly, 3 times quickly. "It's mimicking us," gasped Dr. Reed. "Or responding," said Porter. They sent another pattern. The void responded again, copying exactly what they sent. "It's like it's learning," said Murphy. They continued sending signals for hours, gradually making them more complex. The void kept responding, sometimes with exact copies, sometimes with slight variations. While they worked, Dr. Reed analyzed the data from their scans. "Look at this," she said suddenly, pointing to her screen. "The void isn't solid. It has an internal structure." The alien scientists crowded around to look. "That's impossible," one said. "Our scans have never shown anything like this." "You weren't looking the right way," Reed explained. "It's like trying to see through fog. You need to use the right kind of light." The scans revealed that the void had layers and patterns inside it. It wasn't just destroying things randomly. It was organized. "This isn't a natural disaster," Reed said firmly. "And I don't think it's a weapon either. This level of organization suggests intelligence." "Are you saying it's alive?" asked Porter. Reed nodded slowly. "I think it might be a life form unlike anything we've ever encountered. A being that exists in multiple dimensions at once, and our space is just one of them." The alien scientists began arguing among themselves. This went against everything they thought they knew. "If it's alive," said Murphy, "then maybe we can communicate with it." "We're already starting to," said Reed, pointing to the ongoing signal exchange. "The question is, what do we say next?" The news of possible communication with the void spread quickly through the Pioneer *. The alien crew members were divided. Some were excited, others afraid. Many simply didn't believe it was possible. "The Council needs to hear about this," Ambassador Xelnet said. "We should return immediately and risk losing contact." Dr. Reed shook her head firmly. "We're just starting to make progress." Commander Porter made the final decision. "We'll stay, but we'll send a message to the Council explaining what we found. The Council's response came quickly. They ordered the Pioneer to return at once. They called the human theories dangerous and unproven. They're scared, Miller said when she heard the message. They don't like not understanding something. Porter gathered the human team to discuss their options. The Council has ordered us back. What do you all think? We're so close to a breakthrough, Dr. Reed argued. If we leave now, we might never get another chance. But we're guests here, Murphy reminded everyone. This is their ship, their territory. The debate continued until Specialist Amy Clark, who had been quiet until now, raised her hand. She was the youngest member of the team, brought along because of her background in linguistics and music. I've been listening to the recordings of the Void's responses, she said. There's something familiar about the patterns. Everyone turned to look at her. It reminds me of music, she continued. The pulses have rhythm and repetition, like a song with verses and chorus. Dr. Reed looked interested. Can you explain more? Clark nodded and played a recording of the Void signals. Hear how it builds and then returns to the same pattern. That's like music structure. And the pauses between signals are consistent, like musical rests. So you think it's trying to communicate through music? Porter asked. Maybe not music exactly, but something similar. It's using patterns the way we use words. The idea was strange, but no stranger than anything else they had encountered. Dr. Reed and Clark began working together, trying to map the Void signals to musical notes. Meanwhile, the alien captain was getting nervous. We have direct orders to return. I cannot disobey the Council. Just give us 12 more hours, Porter pleaded. That's all we ask. The captain reluctantly agreed but insisted they keep their distance from the Void. Clark and Reed worked frantically, using Earth music theory to analyze the signals. They created a new communication system based on musical harmonies rather than words or mathematical patterns. Ready to try, Clark announced finally. They sent a simple harmonic sequence toward the Void. At first, nothing happened. It didn't work, the alien captain said. We should leave now. Wait, Murphy pointed at the viewport. Look, the Void was changing. Its edges were shifting, no longer expanding but undulating like waves on water. Then it responded with a harmony that matched theirs perfectly, but added new notes. It's not just copying now, Clark said excitedly. It's responding, adding to the conversation. They continued the musical exchange for hours. The Void's responses grew more complex, and the human team worked to understand them. I think it's trying to explain what it is, Clark said after studying the patterns. It's using harmonies to describe itself. Dr. Reed nodded. And from what I can interpret, it doesn't mean to cause harm. The destruction is a side effect of its presence in our space. The alien captain watched in amazement. In all our studies, we never thought to try music. Music is universal, Clark explained. Even on Earth, different cultures with different languages can appreciate the same melodies. The Void sent another sequence, longer and more complex than before. What's it saying? Porter asked. Clark listened carefully. I think it's asking for help. Help? Murphy was surprised. It's destroyed 17 civilizations, and it needs our help. Reed nodded slowly. It's trapped between dimensions. That's why it consumes energy. It's trying to stabilize itself. The alien captain shook his head in disbelief. The Council will never accept this. Then we'll have to convince them, Porter said firmly. Because I think we just found our way out. The journey back to the Galactic Council headquarters was tense. The alien captain had agreed to let them continue their research on the way, but made it clear he thought they were wrong. The Void is not alive, he insisted. It is a threat that must be destroyed. Porter, Reed, and Clark spent the journey preparing their case. They collected all their data, recorded the musical exchanges, and practiced their presentation. They won't want to believe us, Reed warned. Their entire approach has been based on treating the Void as an enemy. Then we'll have to be very convincing, Porter replied. When they arrived at Centaura, they found the Council already in emergency session. News of another star system's destruction had reached them, and they were planning a final desperate attack on the Void using weapons that could tear apart space itself. We must act now, the Council leader was saying as the humans entered the chamber. Our scientists have developed weapons that might destroy the Void, even if they damage our own space in the process. Wait, Porter called out. All eyes turned to him. You don't need to attack. We've made contact with the Void. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some sounded angry, others disbelieving. This is exactly the kind of chaotic thinking we feared from humans, one council member said. You've been out there for days and claimed to have solved what our greatest minds couldn't in months. We didn't solve it, Reed corrected. We just approached it differently. They presented their findings, showing the recordings of their musical exchanges with the Void. Clark explained her theory about musical communication, and Reed described her conclusion that the Void was trapped between dimensions. It's consuming energy because it needs to stabilize, she explained, not because it wants to destroy. Many council members remained skeptical. Even if this is true, one argued, the Void has already destroyed 17 civilizations. It must be stopped before it destroys more. What if we could help it stabilize without destroying anything else? Miller suggested. If it's just looking for energy, maybe we can provide what it needs in a safer way. The debate continued for hours. The council was split, with many wanting to proceed with the attack and others wanting to explore the humans' discovery. Finally, the council leader raised a hand for silence. We will pause our attack plans for 3 days. Show us proof that your communication is real and that the Void can be helped without further destruction. It wasn't much time, but it was something. The human team immediately began working on a plan. We need to establish clearer communication, Clark said, and we need to understand exactly what the Void needs. We also need to get closer to it, Reed added. These long-distance exchanges are too limited. The Council will never approve a closer approach, Murphy pointed out. Porter was quiet for a moment, then looked at his team. Then we don't ask for approval. We go ourselves, in a smaller craft. That would be directly disobeying orders, Murphy said, though she didn't sound entirely opposed to the idea. Sometimes you have to break the rules to do the right thing, Porter replied. I'll go. I won't ask anyone else to risk their career. I'm going to, Reed said immediately. I need to see the Void up close to understand it better. You'll need me to communicate with it, Clark added. One by one, the core team volunteered. Only Miller hesitated. Someone needs to stay behind and work on a solution, she said. If you can figure out what the Void needs, I'll figure out how to provide it. They spent the rest of the day preparing. They would take a small shuttle, one designed for short-range exploration. The alien crew wouldn't approve, but pilot Greg Wilson was confident he could get them out before anyone could stop them. As night fell on Centaura, Porter looked at his small team. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we either save the galaxy or get ourselves kicked out of it forever. Murphy smiled grimly. Who would have thought Earth's first major action in galactic politics would be stealing a spaceship? Stealing an alien shuttle turned out to be surprisingly easy. The Galactic Council, for all their advanced technology, didn't expect anyone to disobey them so directly. Greg Wilson, who had been studying the alien controls for days, launched the small craft before the station's security even noticed something was wrong. That was too easy, Murphy said as they sped away from Centaura. Almost like someone wanted us to leave. Ambassador Xelnat stepped out from the back of the shuttle. Someone did. The humans jumped in surprise. None of them had seen the alien board. Why are you here? Porter demanded. Because I believe you might be right, Xelnat said simply. And because when you reach the Void, you'll need someone who can speak for the Council if you succeed. The journey to the Void took only a few hours in the small, fast shuttle. As they approached, alarm signals began to sound. We're getting too close. Wilson warned. "The shuttle's safety systems are trying to turn us back." "Override them," Porter ordered. Wilson nodded and bypassed the safety controls. The shuttle continued forward, now much closer to the void than any ship had gone before. Through the viewport, the void looked even more strange and beautiful up close. Its edges rippled with colors that shouldn't exist, and its center was darker than the darkest night. "It's beautiful," Clark whispered. Reed was busy setting up their communication equipment. "We need to send a stronger signal this time, something that shows we understand what it is and want to help." Clark had prepared a special musical sequence based on what they had learned from their previous exchanges. "This should tell it that we know it's trapped and want to help it get home." They sent the signal. The void's response was immediate and powerful. The shuttle shook as waves of energy washed over it. "It's responding much more strongly now that we're closer," Reed said, excitement in her voice as she studied her instruments. "The patterns are changing. It's trying to tell us something new." "The engines are failing," Wilson reported suddenly. "We're being pulled toward the void." "That's not possible," Zelnet said. "Nothing can survive inside the void. We must turn back." Porter looked at Reed. "What do you think? Is it attacking us or bringing us closer to communicate better?" Reed studied the data for a long moment. I think it's inviting us in." "That's insane," Murphy said. "We'll be destroyed." "Maybe not," Clark said, still listening to the void signals. "The musical patterns suggest it's creating a safe space for us, a bubble of our reality inside its own." It was a huge risk. If they were wrong, they would die instantly. If they were right, they might learn how to save countless lives. "I'll go," Porter decided. "The rest of you stay here." "No." Reed shook her head. "I need to go. I can understand the scientific readings. And I need to go to interpret the signals," Clark added. In the end, they decided that Porter, Reed, and Clark would take a small pod from the shuttle and enter the void, while Murphy, Wilson, and Selnat remained behind to maintain contact. The pod detached from the shuttle and moved slowly toward the darkness. As it reached the edge of the void, there was a moment when it seemed to freeze in place. Then, slowly, it passed through. Inside the shuttle, the remaining crew held their breath. For several minutes, there was no signal at all. "They're gone," Zelnet said softly. Then suddenly, their communication system came to life. "We're inside," came Porter's voice, filled with wonder. "And you won't believe what we're seeing." Inside the void, Porter, Reed, and Clark found themselves in a space that defied description. It was like being inside a living mind. Energy patterns flowed around them in complex webs that somehow felt like thoughts. "It's communicating directly with us now," Clark said. "Not just through sounds, but through everything." "What's it saying?" Porter asked. Clark closed her eyes, focusing on the patterns around them. "It's saying it's sorry. It didn't know it was hurting anyone. It was just trying to find its way home." Reed was examining her instruments. "It's from another dimension entirely. It fell into our space by accident and has been trying to get enough energy to return." "Can we help it?" Porter asked. Reed nodded slowly. "I think so. But we'll need the Council's help." When Porter, Reed, and Clark returned to the shuttle, their faces showed a mix of wonder and determination. They had been inside the void for only 30 minutes, but they had learned more than the Galactic Council had discovered in months. "We need to get back to Zentura immediately," Porter said. "And we need to contact Miller on the way." During the journey back, they explained what they had discovered. The void was actually a being from another dimension, one that existed in 5 dimensions instead of our 3. It had fallen through a weak point between realities and became trapped. "It's been consuming stars and planets to gather energy," Reed explained, "but not because it wants to destroy. It needs that energy to create a doorway back to its own dimension." "Can we help it do that without destroying more worlds?" Murphy asked. Reed nodded. "I think so. It's been using the most obvious energy sources it could find. Stars. But there are other ways to generate the energy it needs. They contacted Miller, who had been working on energy solutions back at the council. When she heard their findings, she got excited. "I've been studying their power systems," she said. "The council has technology that can harness energy from vacuum fluctuations. If we modify it, we might be able to create a power source strong enough to help the void without destroying anything else." By the time they reached Centaura, a council security fleet was waiting for them. They were immediately arrested and brought before the full council. "You stole council property, disobeyed direct orders, and put yourselves and others at risk," the council leader said sternly. "What do you have to say for yourselves?" Porter stepped forward. "We found a solution." For the next hour, they presented everything they had learned. Reed explained the science behind the void's nature. Clark described their communication breakthrough, and Miller presented her plan for generating the energy the void needed to return home. "The beam doesn't want to hurt us," Porter concluded. "It's just lost in trying to find its way home." Many council members remained skeptical, but Ambassador Xelnat spoke up in support. "I was with them. I saw what they saw. They're telling the truth." After much debate, the council agreed to try the humans' plan. It would take 2 weeks to build Miller's modified energy generator. During that time, Clark maintained regular communication with the void, assuring it that help was coming. On the day of the attempt, ships from all 37 council species gathered at a safe distance from the void. The modified generator, twice the size of the Pioneer *, was positioned at the edge of the void's reach. Ready to activate, Miller reported from the control ship. "Do it," Porter ordered. The generator hummed to life. Streams of energy began to flow toward the void, which pulsed and shifted in response. For several tense minutes, nothing seemed to be happening. "It's not enough," Reed said, studying the readings. "We need more power." Miller pushed the generator to its limits. Warning alarms blared as it began to overheat. "We're losing it," she shouted. Then suddenly, the void began to change. Its edges became more defined, and its center began to glow with a soft light. A tunnel of energy formed, stretching from the void into what looked like another dimension entirely. "It's working," Reed exclaimed. "It's creating a pathway home." The void sent one final musical sequence. Clark listened carefully, then smiled. "It's saying thank you," she translated, "and goodbye." Slowly, the void began to shrink as it moved through the tunnel it had created. The generator continued to provide energy until, with a flash of light that temporarily blinded their sensors, the void disappeared completely. When they could see again, normal space had returned where the void had been. Stars shone brightly against the darkness. 2 days later, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. Despite their initial anger over the stolen shuttle, they recognized that the humans had saved countless lives and worlds. "The Council extends formal membership to Earth," the Council leader announced. "Your species brings a perspective that we now recognize as valuable." As the ceremony ended, Murphy found herself standing next to Porter, watching alien species that had once seemed so strange now mingling with humans. "Not bad for our first trip to space," she said. Porter smiled. "I have a feeling it's just the beginning." From across the galaxy to the dark spaces between dimensions, word spread quickly. When no one saw a way out, they called humans, and the humans found one.